Good afternoon, ladies, MBs and gentlemen, and welcome to Badger Bodgers playing Rusty Dagger, a solo zine adventure game. So essentially a one-person RPG. I saw this advertised on a solo wargaming group, and I thought I'd give it a go. It's only $2 at the moment on Drive-Thru RPG, so I think it came to like £1.77. And the idea of it is these are RPG adventures for you to play by yourself. Which means they have these little stories. The one we will be playing is Spire of the Golem, and essentially you play through them. Now, I have set up everything I need, but what I haven't done is set up my character, and I haven't played this through before. This is my first pass at this, and I wanted to do that because I wanted to see how tricky is it to pick up as you go along. Now, obviously, I couldn't completely go in blind because I needed to know what kind of stuff I needed, so I have read through the rules a few times to try and get a little bit to grips with them, and find out what kind of everything you see in front of you, what you need. So if you open the core rules, for instance, what you need to play: 2 6-sided dice, set of polyhedral dice. You actually only need the D10 as far as I can see, so it's the D10. Miniatures, scatter terrain, which I've got these tables, these pillars, and these little rocks over here, and this will come in later. Pencil, battle tile. The download from Drive-Thru RPG comes with a grid that you can print off. I've made my own. Counters tokens, which I've got behind me, but you've also got here, and an imagination, which hope I've got. So there is, I'm going to say, kind of one drawback straight away, which is when you read through, you need to know what miniatures you need, but the Spire of the Golem zine doesn't have at the beginning kind of what you're going to need, so you have to read through the thing to find out what miniatures you're going to need, which means I've kind of spoiled it for myself. I would love to have gone into this just knowing, okay, I will face a golem at some point, but when, where, whatever, be a bit of a mystery, whereas I've had to read it to know what models I'd need, and to get them prepared. So it would have been nice if you've ever played Rangers of Shadow Deep. They have at the beginning what you're going to need. It doesn't tell you when they're going to come up, but it tells you what you're going to need. And I think that'd be nice to have at the beginning of these little campaign booklets. As with my paint tutorial, by the way, the camera is upside down according to my perspective, so if you see things go out of frame, that's why. And I've got myself a nice mug of coffee as well to help me through. Now, it's an RPG, so the very first thing we're going to do is build our character. Now, this comes in this handy zine here. I think the zine is slightly more of an Americanism, but we'll use it because it's the term they're using. And you get your character sheet. So let's just remove the tar for now, and when I put it back, I'll have to try and put it back. And because of this cloth, it's a little bumpy. So this is going to be our hero. There you go. It's kind of one of my Coban rogues, so we're going to make a rogue. You can't make a rogue in this game, as close as we can to a rogue. So creating a hero. Creating a hero will only take a few minutes. Sorry if you hear a motorbike backfiring. I am filming this in the conservatory, which is boiling, so you'll unfortunately have to hear outside. Creating your hero will only take a few minutes. Start by naming him or her. Just say them. I'm going to call them Dirk. Dirk is going to be their name. Make him a guy. Then use the stat point array. Assign each stat point to one of the 5 prime traits on your hero sheet. Prime traits are the core features of your hero. Each prime trait has 2 sub-traits that represent aspects of that prime trait. So you've got health, combat, knowledge, judgment, and personality. And sort of D&D style, it's not that if you put 1 into health, that's like a 1 bonus to your dice roll. It's kind of got this like modifier, sort of like D&D has. Health represents the vitality of your hero. Combat is how good they are in combat. Knowledge is sort of things that they know, believe it or not. Judgment has wisdom and luck, which I love. The fact that luck is part of judgment. And then personality is candor and guile. And as far as I can tell, you kind of don't get to necessarily always pick what you're using in the story. So we're going to try and go for a fairly balanced person. So I mean, you can't go full balance because it's your stats you can choose are 4, 7, 7, 9 and 11. And there will be a thing about basically splitting these out. So health, I don't want him to be too squishy. So I'm going to put the health at 7. So that gives me 7 wounds. So we'll just mark that if I come up to there I die. Combat, wouldn't mind him being pretty good in combat. Let's kind of get straight in. So we'll put combat all the way up to 11. Personality, kind of one at 9. You know, rogues, I always think their personality should be there. We'll put the knowledge as the lowest, 4. And then judgment we'll put as the other 7. Now, the way this works is you can kind of split it out. And you have to split it out now into agility, brawn. You know, health goes into agility and brawn. And coffee goes in face. So I'm more worried about being. I've done a little bit of reading ahead, and I know that grafters get better and can use their agility where usually you'd use brawn. So I'm going to try and put most of this into agility, but not. We don't want it over much. So 4, and then we'll put 3, which is actually going to give him a -1 modifier. Combat, I want this guy to start being an archer more than anything. So, you know, I've read through and you can buy a bow. Everyone comes with a melee weapon as standard. But I really want him to start really going into archery. So we're going to go with, I think a 7 there and a 4 in swordsmanship. Now, this could be terrible. Like, absolutely, this could be a terrible build. I don't know because I've not played the game through yet. Knowledge, tell you what, let's make him a real magic dummy. So he's only got a 1 in arcane and put the 3 in survival. He's not great at survival either. I kind of like the idea of a lucky kind of rogue, so I'm going to put all of it into luck, 6, and then just 1 into wisdom. You can't have a 0, by the way. Although it says 0 to 1. Am I? Oh, any subtraits must be whole numbers. Any subtract doesn't have a value is 0 by default. So you can actually, this is what you get when you start from nothing. I'm going to give him a 0 in arcane and a 4 in survival, and a 0 in wisdom and a 7 in luck. Oh, lucky number 7. And then we'll kind of split out 5 and 4 for. Nah, that's silly because we might have 1 higher. So I'll put 6 into candor and 3 into guile. So that's kind of how it goes. Wealth, you start with 15. That's kind of it. You have to then pick a title. I mean, kind of like every other D&D or RPG, you end up looking at the hero titles before you actually put your stats in because you kind of need to know where you're going. I want to eventually do a necromancer, but I'm not quite sure how part of it works. So we're going to start with a grafter. So sort of I quite like the term as well, grafter. So he's a grafter. It's only really will come in relevant once we start to level up. Items, you can have up to 5. You've got a little booklet at the back. So he starts with a sword, or melee weapon, which in his case is like a sword. And I'm going to give him a longbow for 10 wealth, to kind of represent this crossbow he's got on his back. There's no like rules for a crossbow, so you know it's a bow. Yes, they're very different, but we'll just have to work with it. And then there's things like leveling up and making camp and companions, which will meet a possible companion along the way here. So that's it really. That's how Guy built. He's down to just 5 wealth. Actually, let's take a look. What else can I spend that on? Oh, knock over the pillar. Why don't I? There's a healing potion. Yeah, you always find yourself wanting healing potions in these kind of games, so we'll give him a healing potion. So he's got a longbow and a healing potion. The longbow only has 5 shots. That's quite clear in this, and you have to buy. It's like 5 wealth. So, and we're going to give him. Well, they say new hero starts with 39 at here, but in the book it says 38. So I'm going to go with the book. Maybe that's a mistake. So that's that. That's our character set up. Now you're probably not going to see this character sheet now because I want to put the like combat grid in front of you, and we will try and put it back where it was, visible and in view. Yeah, we'll just shift that gently over here. It's an entirely grid-based game. It says you have to be orthogonally connected, which, as far as I can tell, means like in front and to the side, but you can't do diagonals. If I'm wrong, please tell me, because obviously it's more limiting. But it's just the nature of grid games. You have to decide whether you're allowing that kind of moves or not. So we'll start, I guess. Like I say, I've had to read through this a little bit to know what to have, and it would have been nice to have a bestiary at the beginning to know what to have, because I didn't have all of these ready, and I didn't want to be rummaging around to find stuff either, and using proxies, which is it's absolutely fine to use proxies. So we'll kind of start, I guess, and run it through, and we'll see how far we get before my camera runs out of memory or we finish. So I will try and do this dramatic reading style. Spire of the Golem. Rumours of a structure mysteriously appearing several nights ago have made their way to your favourite tavern, the Rusty Dagger. From the whisper of your fellow patrons, you have gathered that the structure has yet to be entered by any of the locals. Upon making the decision to see this structure for yourself, you set off at first light. We're doing it in the day. After travelling for a full day, you reach a towering onyx spire settled in a clearing just beyond the tree lines. Its ominous sight is complemented by a malodor that fills your nostrils with a scent of rot. I've never seen malodor written like that, but I guess that's the proper way of writing it. Oh, this is American, so maybe it's just a misspelling. Staying within the tree line, you cautiously make your way around the spire to scan for guards. Halfway around the spire, you see a figure lying against a nearby tree. As you approach the still figure, you notice a weapon leaning against the tree as well. Closing in, you see it is a lean man wearing padded leather armour. As you take a step closer, the man casually turns his head in your direction and speaks. "Be easy, my friend. I am here to loot this place just as you." The announcement of his intentions relaxes you somewhat. Resting your hand on your weapon, you step into the stranger's line of sight. Now, I didn't read this intro because it didn't have anything down about people. So this guy is being represented by this guy with nothing but a bat and just pajamas, loose-fitting clothes. It'll do. I've probably got a guy who has got leather armour somewhere, but I don't want to have to leave and redo this, so that's kind of the drawback of not having written down at the beginning who all these people are. I saw the word thief and kind of went with a guy in sort of not even burglar's clothes, just casual civilian clothes. After introductions, the man you now know as the skilled thief, Alan Dale, tells you what information he has collected so far. Oh, he's friendly. He's a friendly thief. Alan Dale has been scouting the spire since the first days of its appearance. There seem to be no windows, balconies or entries visible from outside, but each night, once the moon reaches its highest point, a doorway will manifest for a time, Alan Dale says. Unaware of what's beyond the walls of the spire, a temporary alliance between Alan Dale and yourself could be advantageous. Now, this is where we get to our first narrative challenge. This game is entirely 2d6 based, which I like. I appreciate when it's a 2d6 based system, because it's not as swingy as like a d20 based system or even a d12, because if you roll 2d6, I don't know how much you know about probability, but you're most likely to roll a 7, just because so many different combinations of the dice make a 7. So it gives it more of a smooth curve of difficulty, rather than just swinging wildly between things. You see it more in RPGs than in wargames, but some wargames, Space Weirdos for instance, has a 2D, well 2D whatever system. So, I'm trying to persuade Alan Dale, I'm going to call you Alan, persuade Alan to become a companion, so I'm going to roll a challenge roll of 5, so plus Candor. What that means is I'm going to roll 2d6, I'm going to add my Candor modifier, which because my Candor is 6 is a +1. I'm actually going to write +1 on it. We'll go through and do those. And it's just a static number, it's a target number to beat. You're probably used to that from other RPGs, having a target number. So, let's roll this. It might not be visible. There you go. And it's match or exceed. Pretty much everything in this game needs to be match or exceed. So that is a 5 plus my Candor of 1 equals a 6. So I've got Alan with me. A companion, they will say like its ability, so I now need to write down his abilities. His name is Alan Dale. Sorry, this is just going to be my arm across this. We'll have to write it on the tile. He has health of 7, move, I guess normal, because it doesn't say anything. Ability is sleight of hand. Okay, now we've got to go through. So his agility is 4, his brawn is 3. Oh, he's going to be squishy. Swordsmanship of 5, archery of 2, arcane of 1, survival of 3, wisdom of 3, luck of 6, Candor of 6, Guile of 5, and he's got a bottled smoke, which is something I could have bought. And I don't have a template for, so we'll just have to work with it if we do it. Just a little bugbear is that the way the stuff was listed in his companion description didn't match the sheet, so I kind of had to backtrack a couple of times. Just a bugbear. Didn't ruin anything. And because I passed, I also gain an advantage. Now, advantage is going to come up when we get into combat. We're going to say that yellow is us, so I'm just going to put a little advantage in here, but that will make sense when we get to combat. As the moon rises to its apex, an opening begins to form at the base of the spire. Once the entrance is fully present, Alan Dale tells you that the entrance will begin to close in 3 hours' time. With this knowledge, you brace yourself and take your first step into the spire. As you walk the twisted ascending halls of the spire, you notice there are no torches lining the walls, yet there is just enough light for you to see several feet in front of you. Finally, a door comes into view. I love that, because otherwise you have the torches that inexplicably burn forever. It's got to be magic light. Holding your breath, you lean in on the door and listen for activity. Sounds of low groans and shuffling feet fill your ear. Drawing your weapon, you prepare to open the door. So, we're on to a combat challenge. Yay! If your party is outnumbered, gain 1 disadvantage for the first combat round. The only way you could not be outnumbered is if you bought a pet, so we're going to be outnumbered. So a disadvantage puts enemy tokens, which we've decided are going to be orange, in there. First thing we need to do is set up deployment. So I'll do obstacles first. It says to do obstacle first, by the way. And the way this works is we roll a dice, and that's where stuff goes. So we've got a d6 for this row and a d10 for this row. I've got plenty of d10s from playing Fistful of Lead. So we've got a 6 and a 6 for our first piece of terrain, which is going to be one of these stone tables. So 6, 6. Yeah, I did them in, pretentious Latin numerals. It just looks better, like badly painted, than numbers. A 6 and a 5. This is going to be useful, isn't it? A 3 and an 8. These are just little tables I made this morning out of the same bases I use for everyone else, and just some bits of small pegs. And the large low, a 2 and a 4. Let's just double check the rulebook to see if it says anything about like deploying large ones. Obstacles. No, it just says to put them down. So I will, like, there's no, what I mean is there's no rules to say, so I've picked this spot, but does it go there, there, there? So we'll just kind of do it. What would be the most logical way? I'm just going to put it like that. It looks the most aesthetically pleasing, so I have to do. These are all low, so even though my guy, he can kind of see over it, so we're good. And then we need to deploy the zombies and us. Now, it doesn't really matter what order you do this in, because it's random deployment, so we'll deploy Dirk first. He rolled a 3, and that means he's going to be here. We'll do Alan. He rolled a 4, how handy. So we come in together like that. And then we have 3 zombies. Oh, one of them rolled a 6. So just to put that on screen. So he can go there. One of them rolled a 3. Maybe I should have put numerals on both sides, but it didn't look as aesthetically pleasing as just having them on one side. So there we go. And the way it would be, if we had more enemies than this, they would just then stack to the next column. But we don't. And then we fight, basically, which is going to be using the core rules. The way a fight starts, we're going to draw out of our initiative bag, and if it's yellow, we're going to go. If it's orange, a zombie's going to go. Yellow! You get 2 actions. Like I said, I have had to read the rules to kind of get to grips with the rules. We get 2 actions, so I am going to, I think, try and move Alan Dale. He gets, I mean, I'm called sort of the party tank just by being a main character, so, and I also want to clear shot, so at least deal damage to one of them with the few arrows I have. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There doesn't seem to be any penalties to moving and shooting, so I wanted to get just like 1 shot off in this encounter, being I've only got 5 arrows, just to try and get 1 down, and then we'll move on. Again, another problem, I sort of know how long this encounter is, because this whole thing is, because I've read it, but oh well. Zombies don't have any abilities. Their AD is D6 plus 3. I'm guessing that's their defense. Yeah, it's kind of, like I say, some of this stuff is not wholly clear. Let me just double check. Now the defender of the attack. Oh. See, this is where there's a bit of a difference between. You got to bear in mind this has only just come out, so there's probably a bit of testing that needs to be done. So it's saying it needs to be against the defender's brawn or melee, but there's nothing like that listed. There's just a D6 plus 3, which I assume is its defense. And we're just going to have to kind of go with that, I guess. Like that's the target number. Interesting. So in that case, we're going to fire 1 little archery. Now, being my bonus is 6 to 7, that is a +1, which, you know, considering the amount I had to put into this, it's not amazing. So first thing we're going to do is just roll my archery. So that is a 5. Oh no, that's not a 5 at all. Keep forgetting the badger is actually a 6, so that's a 10 and then an 11. So their D6 plus 3 is going to have to beat an 11, which, you know, it can't, it physically can't. So that middle guy, I'm just going to kind of take note, I guess. That middle guy has taken a wound, and they only have 2 health. I know, we'll do... I have some wound tokens. Probably a little bit too big for this game, but we will use them nonetheless, so he can take a wound. Maybe we'll get some smaller wound tokens at some point. But first run of the game, not always going to be ready for absolutely everything that needs to happen. So that's my action. We leave the initiative out. Take another one. Another yellow, which is lucky. Which my guy could then do it. Like, there's no rules about who has to do what. But, you know, Alan is here. He's got a normal move, so we're just going to... And we'll team up here. Doesn't seem to be any rules for, like, if you've got, you know, more of you. And Alan can't really do anything. And you're only allowed one of each named action. So, you know, use item or ability, end activation. I don't want to use his item against this zombie fight, so he's just going to have to just chill. He can't use that, so we can just end his turn. We'll take the next one out. Hey, the zombies get to move. Now, the zombies are slow, which means they just get 2. By the way, all these obstacles are low, so they can actually be climbed over, but it's -2, so I figured it was probably better just to do that. So we'll move this guy nice and close. The AI rules are a little sparse and a bit badly worded, but I think I've kind of got them. By AI, I mean like the enemies. And then another one, so another one of theirs. Tell you what, they seem to want, the AI rules seem to want me to prioritise those who are close, so do that. Hey, one of us. Now, like I say, I don't want to be wasting what little arrows I have, so my guy's going to move up and try and attack the zombie. My swordsmanship is 4, which gives me no bonuses whatsoever, so it's just going to be a flat 9. 999. So they might... well, no, I think whatever happens, I'm going to kill them. Yeah, because D6 plus 3, but it's against a target and matches win. So that's another wound on this guy, but he only has 2 health, so he is killed. Not bad. Not a bad start. Part of me thinks that enemies should have static stats, so rather than having to roll for the enemy, like their defense is just a number that you beat, and also their attack is just a number that your defense has to beat. Just to... I think with solo games, maybe you shouldn't have to roll for the opposing side. Like, they should be more static, and the action and randomness should only be on the player. I think that's kind of a holdover from the fact that I quite like Powered by the Apocalypse games. But, oh well. Oh, another yellow. Yep, I mean, there's no real advantage to charging or being charged. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's not really much thought that goes into that bit. Oh, one of theirs. He can move 1, 2. And again, well, this time he can make his attack. I suppose that's the advantage. Like, I don't mean you don't get like a +1 for charging, but you know, if it's your turn when you make contact, you get to do the attack, not them. So that's a reason to want to keep your distance. So I've kind of messed up a little there from not knowing the implications of the rules, but I'm guessing I've got to roll a D6 plus 3 again. D6 plus 3 to do their attack. That seems to be what it is. Oh, so that was a 2 plus 3. This feels a little bit unfair because now I've got, you know, right. We'll have to roll with it. And I rolled a 9, so I defend, don't take a wound. Okay. Now they don't get the advantage anymore for the first turn. I'm guessing I don't get the advantage from Allendale. Let's see if there's rules about advantage. Yeah, removal gain tokens. So we'll put them back here. And there's a maximum of 3 gain tokens. Yeah, I'm just looking at the rules that when it comes to the Golem, and actually you do need more polyhedral dice than I've brought. I say, learning, it's fine. So that's just 3 in the bag now. Shake the bag. Take one out at random. Hear a dog bark. Orange, that's one of theirs, so this guy's going to try and strike at me again. So that's a 5 plus 3 is 8. Then I'm going to try and roll. That's only a 7, and it's against my brawn, which is actually a -1. So I take a wound. Well, Dirk takes a wound, and we'll just mark that down. I've actually got a piece of paper for him. So Dirk has taken a wound from that Zambo. Next one is yellow, so that's going to be Dirk, who's, his swordsmanship's just as flat as it can be. There's no bonus. That's an 8, and they are going to roll a 2 plus 3 is 5, so that's a wound against that guy. We'll just put on his column. Now I can only do one of each, and because I'm so close, I would take an attack if I move, so I'm just going to have to end my activation there, because you can't do 2 attacks in a turn. Next up is going to be the zombie, who I think again will attack, d6 plus 3. That's a 9, that's as best as it can get. And my brawn is a -1, so this could be a good shout. Yep, that's only an 8, so that's another wound on Dirk. He has only 7, so he's not doing over well. This would be funny if my very first game I die. Yeah, it'd be brilliant. I'll draw the next one. Oof, finally, it's a yellow. So I got a good chance. Sorry about the dog. Okay, my swordsmanship is just a flat, so that is an 8. Sorry, a 7. And they actually managed to beat it. d6 plus 3, that's an 8. I can't do anything else with my turn. So next up, me again. So that should be, again, a 7. Let's see what their d6 plus 3 rolls. Stalemate again. And then, so the first one was dispatched very easily, this one not so well. They are going to roll a d6 plus 3 to attack me. That's a 5. I mean, my brawn is not good, and your brawn is your defense. Later on, he'll get like the grafter's upgrade, which lets him use his agility for defense, which is what I'm aiming for. But we're all right though. By the way, like player characters have an ability called Natural Success that just means 6. If you roll 2 badgers, you'll be good. So that's that. I mean, oh, hang on. Try to activate each enemy in a combat round. So I've kind of been doing that slightly wrong. I kind of got a bit hyper-focused on that one combat there. The game wants you to try and activate all of them, so yeah, that's something I missed. We'll go on it. I mean, it was to my disadvantage, so. Yellow! My guy's just going to strike, and Alan's just sitting there. That is a 10. And my swordsmanship offers no bonuses, so even with that, I deal another wound and kill this guy. Yeah, no way he could have defended against that. Next is, another yellow. So this guy's the last one left. He can move 2, so 1, 2, 2. Then he can get in combat there. What do we want to do? I think because I'm a little bit injured, I'm going to try and make Alan a bit more appetising. Yeah. Okay. shake the bag. I do like bag draw initiative orders. Oh! Well, that's actually sort of hindered me, because if I'd have known I was going to have that, I would have moved further forward, because you can't attack diagonally. And you can only use end activation once, so this guy one of my guys has to move. So I guess I'll move this guy here. Right, the rest of these are actually going to be the zombies, which is not great. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It can't attack because it's diagonal. Oh, sorry, that it can only move 2. So, tell you what, we'll roll them all into 1. So it'd be 1, 2. Then it does its other 1, 2, and then you have to do it again, another 1, 2. Yeah, but it can attack now. So sorry, the reason I'm doing that, so you can only use one of each action. So move is an action. So even though you have 2 actions, you can only use move once. But now it is in striking range of Alan, so he's going to, first of all, roll, so that's a 6. Now Alan's brawn for fighting in combat is the same as mine, 3, so that's a -1 modifier. Oh, but he did alright. Alan clearly knows how to survive better than me. Or better than Dirk. Put them all back in the bag, shaky shaky. Zombie's turn again, so it's going to roll d6 plus 3. That's a 7. And Alan rolls also a 7, but -1, so it doesn't matter because it would have matched. So Alan takes a hit. He's down to health 6. I'll start tracking that there. Next is us. So Alan's swordsmanship is 5, so's mine, so probably best for just Alan to do something. Worth checking, actually. Can you... I think initiative... Yeah, you activate hero or companion. You can't just spread the attacks out. That would be a bit cheaty. Anyway, he's going to roll 2d6 plus nothing. Oh, it's only a 6. It's got to be a low roll here. And it's not, it's a 9, so just tanks it. Zombie again. D6 plus 3. Only a 5. Come on. Come on, Alan. 6 -1 is 5. And match is beat. Well. This is where the confusion between the 2 books comes from. Does matches beat? Because yeah, the defender. Oh, hang on. The defender's score must equal or exceed the attacker's. So the defender actually has advantage. Sorry, that's a wrong. I did another wrong, but it's kind of how it's going to be. So the defender has advantage. So actually, he stops that. Just next one. Oh, zombie again. It's going to be hard to beat, Alan. That's an 8. And I rolled an 8, but that's a -1 on his brawn, so that is 7. Alan takes another wound. He's down to 5. We might need that healing potion after all. This is just the first combat against easy enemies. You know what? I think when I draw, I think my guy's going to need to get involved, and he can. So that's 2d6 plus his swordsmanship of 4. Wow. So that is just 3. There's no way of that being anything else. Which means this guy cannot help but beat it, because he's got that. Okay, last one. Dirk can try and attack again with his sword. That's a bit more like it. 7. So that's possible beat. Yep, 2 plus 3. So this guy is now... He's down to 1 wound. I mean, blimey. And then put everything back in the old... zombie first. I think I'll have the zombie attack my hero. So d6 plus 3. So that's a 6 I need to beat. Which I beat. Flying colours. Shake it again, shake it again. Oh, I'm going to attack it with my sword. Oh, that's a good roll. That's a 9. So unless it gets a 6, which it doesn't, it is dead. So zombie down. We are not doing great, but we have survived. We've got Alan on 5 and me on 5. 5 wounds. Very similar characters. So, with that in mind, we then move on to the conclusion. By the way combat kind of works is, have they all been defeated? Is there a task that needs to be completed? And then there's like some special rules, but generally defeating everyone in combat is a good way of ending combat. Conclusion. After dispatching the last zombie, you take a deep breath and begin to search the room. Hero, make a search action roll, plus luck. Well, my luck is actually pretty good. It's 7, so I actually get a plus 1. 10, 11. Oh, I find a healing potion and a vial of acid. Let's see. Should have checked the companion abilities. Sleight of hand. Once per combat challenge, 1 action. Place 1 drawn initiative token back into the initiative bag. Would have been handy to have read that. But oh well. Yeah, all your like stuff is at the back. So worth checking out. So nothing but a potion and a vial of acid. Possibly the hero rules. Vial of acid. Range of 4. I'm guessing orthogonal. Action AS of 6. So action score of 6. Deals 2 wounds to 1 target. So it's just you've got to lob it properly. Think we will keep hold of that for when we have to deal with the big boy. Another healing potion. Now, because I have 2 healing potions, they take up the same. How much does a healing potion even heal? Up to 2 wounds. There's no other way of healing, so we might as well both just drink some healing potions. It doesn't say. Oh, from this model. It says from this model, so I'm guessing I can't give it to... Can you give stuff to companions? It would be weird if you couldn't. Doesn't look like you can give them something. And what did he have? I've got to check the book. What did he have? Bottled smoke, which I'm trying to keep for later. Well, that's a bit of a weird one. It doesn't say whether you can give like items you own to other people, so I'm going to assume not. So I'm just going to use 1 healing potion to remove 2 wounds because I might as well. I'll just rub it out. That's why you do this all in pencil. There we go. Okay, so we've completed that. With hope of finding something of real worth, you push on. After encountering several rooms with little or no valuables amongst them, classic RPG, you decide to keep to the main hall. As you progress, you notice a subtle change in the flagstones lining the floor. Suddenly, your next step triggers a flagstone to click. Without little warning, darts come speeding towards you. Narrative challenge, dart trap. I like this. I like it when there's a trap. So it is a challenge roll of 6 plus agility against each member of the party. So my guys here. Let's roll for Dirk first. His agility is 4, so no bonus. But he rolls a 9, so he's fine. And then Alan rolls a 7. And his agility bonus is also the same as mine, so we're fine. Pass, we managed to avoid the darts. Fail would have been a wound. The time to recover from the dart trap is short as you hear movement travelling in your direction, and it's much faster than the zombies you faced earlier. Zombie hounds. So we're going to do deployment again. We're into a combat challenge again. Oh, knocked the table over. First of all, obstacles, random placement, 6. So 3 small, low. I don't know why I said the word 6 there. It spilled out. So we're going to have the good old D10. So 2 and then 4 is going to be a table. And now I roll a 6. 6 and then 1 is going to be a table. That's just going to block me coming on. And then 3 and then 2. 3 and then 2. 2 and then 3 really. So kind of all my end, which isn't good because if I shoot over them, it's actually a negative modifier to the longbow. So combat challenge: defeat the emerging enemies. So let's deploy them first. Deployment is basic, which means we just do it. So 6. These guys are a bit bigger than the tiles, but that's 6 again. So we just have to re-roll. 5. Yeah, you guys are going to be a bit busy. So 2 zombie hounds, health of 2 and move of fast, and then a rat swarm. Who also rolled a 6? Rolling non-stop 6s. 3. So there we go. Little swarm of little grubs, which I'm going to say are rats. And then we deploy my guy. That's a 1. And deploy Alan, that's a 2. Now we've got some pretty hefty customers here. They have an AD, I'm still not quite sure what that stands for, of D6 plus D6. And the Rattos have infectious poison. The model's movement is reduced to a crawl until poison is removed, and we don't have an antidote. So let's get rid of them because we do not have an antidote to the poison, and I will just be on crawl for the rest of the entire game. So, with that in mind, I think we will start. So again, we've got all the initiative tokens in the bag. Doesn't look like anything gives you advantage, so I'll just check everything's in here. Yep. What have we got? Ooh, a yellow. So I think Dirk is going to move up. It seems like such a waste, but I'm going to use the arrow shot on these guys because I really do not want to be infected. I suppose they're only D6 plus. Yeah, but my brawn is pretty bad, so we're going to waste another arrow on these guys. That's a 6 plus 1 for archery. So that's a 7 now. They might still save this because they, whether we've established, they only have to match. But they don't, so fortunately they only had 1 health. So that is the rats removed. The last models I actually built for this. Now we're going to have to face the zombie hound basically defenseless. No arrows, but oh well. They are D6 plus D6. So these guys have a fast move, which lets them move 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they can't do anything else as we've established. Next one. It's me. So I'm going to use my normal move of 1, 2, 3, 4 to get in combat with this guy. Its difficulty is D6 plus D6, so this could be interesting. Very variable compared to just a flat bonus. That's not bad though. That is a 10 swordsmanship from Dirk, and so we will see what they roll as a defense to that. 7, so they're on a wound. So that's not bad actually. I'll take that. I did think like why is it only one wound every time? But actually, over a course of an adventure, they build up fast. So that's one of theirs. Now it says to try and use each one at least once in the combat. So I'm going to attack with this guy, but next time we'll have to move this guy. So I'm kind of like, when people are in combat, I want to get them killing each other, but it says you should try and distribute them. So it has d6 plus d6. Ooh, that's a 9. That's going to be pretty hard for my Dirk to beat because he's pretty crap at this. It's also a 9, but he's -1 for his terrible brawn because I need that agility thing. So that is a wound. Silly Dirk. Oh. So do this. Next is the other. I'll move to the other one because that's what the game wants me to do. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Move them towards Alan. And then the last one is going to be Alan. Now, Alan can't actually reach anyone, interestingly. He's just going to have to take the fact that he's going to be slapped. But what I can do, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, he's going to be hit next turn, whatever. But I'll use his sleight of hand to put this back in and take it back out again. And try and have Dirk attack the zombie hound again. So he's going to roll 2d6. That's a 7. It's not great. And I'm essentially fighting another flat. That's a 4. So just by sheer luck more than anything, that is a zombie hound down. Starting to get the grips of this game as well. Now that Alan can only do that once a game, once a combat. I guess he did some kind of sneaky distraction to give Dirk an advantage. So, next up, it's going to be this zombie hound who is going to close in. If you heard a little squeak there, that's my cat. 2d6. That's only 3. Come on, Alan. Even you who are crap at close combat, can beat that. So he manages to defend. Oh! That's not good. That's another of theirs. Ooh, which is much better at 7. And Alan fails to defend. He's down to 4 health. Maybe we keep Alan out of combat because he... Rules as written, he doesn't seem able to heal. Oh, dear. Zombie Hound again, just wailing on Alan. And I can't do anything. And rolled a 9. And Alan rolled a 7-6, so he's down to 3 health. We're gonna have to really hope that... I mean, there's no point wasting time with... What can we do? 1, 2, 3, 4... No, Alan's just gonna have to be the one sticking in combat because Dirk can't get to him in time. Which is a bit weird when you think, like, my hero's just gonna stand around and let Alan do multiple turns attacking. But that's kind of the nature of initiative systems that work like this, to be honest. There's no other way of doing it. And Alan's just as good in close combat as Dirk is. So, first of all, Alan rolls just a flat 7, and the thingy rolls just 3. So, that is a wound. Now let's... Basically, next initiative token, Alan's going to do the same thing, because there's not much else he can do. So that's another 7. See what I mean about randomness? You just get 7s after 7s. And he manages to kill him, which is fortunate. I feel like that one went a bit quicker than the zombie ones. There's that dog again. Well done, guys. Alan is down to 3. Maybe we keep him out of the Golem fight. Conclusion. With another batch of vile denizens dispatched, you continue down the hall. Hero receives 5 wealth. I wouldn't call them vile. They live here. We've broken into their house. So wealth up to 6. I always get that feeling like, oh, these creatures in this dungeon, how terrible they are. They live there. They weren't causing any harm. They've not left the dungeon, apparently. We're the ones causing problems. Are we the baddies? Finally, you reach a large wooden double doors decorated with skulls and iron accents. I know what they mean by iron accents, but that weird, like, it's got like umlauts on top of it. You see golden light escaping between cracks in the wood. Intrigued by this, you crash the doors open. You're very subtle, Dirk, who's clearly meant to be like a thief. So subtle, you crash the doors open. And greeted by a towering stone figure standing amongst a golden jewel. The jewel, roughly the size of a man's fist, is the source of the light you saw from outside the doors. As you step forward, the stone figure begins to animate. A booming voice comes from the figure as it speaks its warning. Who would enter this place will suffer the same fate as those roaming these halls. The stone golem steps forward from its station guarding the jewel and makes its way towards you. Stepping into the door at your rear is Allendale. Looks like it'll be him or us, my friend, says Allendale. I like that's quite well written actually. You may not have recruited Allendale, but he will come in at the end. That's fairly actually, quite well written, so it works both ways. Challenge: defeat the stone golem, and Allendale becomes a companion. Well, he's been my companion since the beginning. Now, I've made a mistake in setting up. D8 plus D6. I do not have a D8 on the table. So I'm going to have to scoot and get one. I've also just checked the time. I've only been going, I think, about an hour. So that's not bad. Like, it's not a bad pace for an RPG. So we've got a D8, lovely D8. So we'll just add that to the dice pool of kind of reddish die, and then this kind of pearlescent blue one. So we're fighting now. This one actually doesn't have random allocation. It has a set allocation now. Not quite the size of a man's fist, probably a bit bigger. So obstacles are special placement. 4 small, tall. Small just means they only take up 1 square, but they are tall. So row 6, column 3. Yeah, columns can go up to 10. So row 6, column 3 is where I'm going to put this first column. It's now going to hide the numbers from you, but yeah, that's not overly relevant. Next one, row 2, column 3. Now these block line of sight. You can't, go over them. You can't shoot over them. Whatever. Row 6, column 7. Row 6, column 7. And then finally row 2, column 7. So we've kind of got a bit of a skewed room, but I guess it saves it being a really narrow passage down the middle. And then the jewel, 1 small, low, row 4, column 10. So it's a kind of like the final objective. The rest is basic deployment, which means the stone golem is going to be randomly placed. It can't be there. You roll a 4 again. A 3. Hey. So he's there. By the way, this is like a little Japanese figure, which is quite. He's bendy. I've got a few of them from my mate Indelible Ink. He gave me a handful. They're very static poses, so I painted them up as like golem statues thingies. And then we deploy us. 6 for good old Dirk. And 1 for Alan. They've decided to spread out. The golem has an ability called Armoured, so we should probably check that. Attacks with an action score of 6 or less cannot deal wounds to this enemy. So even if he rolls terribly, we cannot, it will not hurt him. Now I think this is a good time to just keep firing arrows at the guy. Oh, he's also got zombie friends. Sorry, almost missed them. Zombie friend here, and zombie friend here. The zombies are the same as before, so it's not just the stone golem, which is worth noting. The stone golem has a health of 6, so we'll just have to keep track of that. So we've got our initiative tokens. Yep, they're all in there. Give it a shaky shake. First up is us. So I think Dirk is just going to move across. So there's nothing intervening between him and the golem and fire one of his few arrows. He's down to 3. So, I mean, that's not a bad. That's a 12. I believe natural success on a result of a natural 12. So it doesn't matter of your modifiers. But the action score of success regardless of any opposing values. However, this guy has, d6 plus d8. It's not hard for him to even beat a score of 12. But he doesn't, so we're lucky. My cat has seen that there is a fly and has charged in if you hear bashing sounds. That's Archie, he is adorable. Next is us again. So I think it's just going to be another shoot down range because I want to get this thing as injured as possible before it gets within smashing distance. Oh, that's less good. That's a 7, but plus 1 for my archery, so that's an 8. He can beat this on 1 die. But he doesn't. Oof, a 5. So that's another wound on the golem, which is good. I'll take that. Oof. Oh, that's all of our moves done. Firing the 3rd and final arrow. I suppose that was a very lucky start because I can just get him down to begin with. Oh, but that's only a 6. That is insanely lucky. So he's down to half health from just being filled with arrows, which you wouldn't think would affect stone, but maybe that's part of the enchantment. So now we're going to try and move all of them. We'll stick to the rules and try and move all of them. So the first one, we'll try and move the zombie. They're just going to move up 2. Then we're going to move the other zombie. They can move up 2. And then we're going to try and move the golem, who I believe just has normal. So he's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4 in a straight line and start to bear down on us. Probably worth trying to kill him before the zombies, to be honest, because they can't keep up. Put everything back in. We fired our arrows, so we are now out of arrows. It's quite impressive crossbow reloading. Ooh, orange. So we'll move the stone golem. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, he's now behind the pillars, so you can't really see him. Next up, zombies. 1, 2. Hey! Now, technically, Alan... No, I think Alan needs to wait until he's got into a combat. I'm just thinking about the sleight of hand thing that I could do with him once per combat. Or do I want to do... He has got... Well, technically I've got a vial of acid. And... Although they're not, like, gathered, it would be nice if we could hit 2. This is the enemy, like the end fight, so I kind of feel like just throwing a vial of acid at this guy. Deals 2 wounds to 1 target, yeah. Range 4, and it's a difficulty of action score of 6. Now it doesn't say what you... Let me check. Items. Here's a bit of a problem. It doesn't say what you're meant to roll. You know, what do you roll to pass an item roll? Yeah, there's a bit of contradiction between some of the bits in this book, so might be nice to have a few things clarified. It's ranged, so I'm just going to go with archery modifier because it's ranged. So +1. I need to pass action score of 6. Eee, so that's a 10. So it deals 2 more wounds to this golem. Like, I've used absolutely everything I've got on this thing. And it's still coming. So that was one move, to use an item. and then I think we will sort of. I mean, he's got the same move as us, so dart to a side, I guess, and like team up with Alan, but it's not. Yeah, because you can't make an attack. You know, you need to make the melee attack as a thing. So you can't. I could move in combat with him. It really wouldn't change anything, to be honest. So we'll just end our activation. Next up is there go. So I'm going to move the other zombie because that's what the game wants me to do. Move each one and play aggressively. And then Dirk's turn. So Dirk's going to move into combat range and roll swordsmanship. That's not bad. That's a 9, but this guy has a D8 and a D6. Wow. That's just... You saw that, right? You saw me roll it. That is a critical failure. That is the stone golem down. Took all of my equipment and some very lucky, extremely lucky rolls, but I'm not gonna argue with that. Okay. Seems to be still a defeat the stone golem. So we're now going to try and defeat the zombies. Well, yeah, combat challenge, defeat the stone golem, but the way the rules are written, in an enemy combat, you want to, you want them to, you need to defeat the enemies. So, yeah. I guess we still have to defeat the zombies, which makes sense. Yeah, they're just zombies. So let's. Cool. Dirk's going to. Alan's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, and bash him across the head. So that's a. Well, Alan, you are a huge disappointment. Because that's just a double 1. And then we're back in the bag. First up is the zombie. Well, I'll do this guy who's fighting Alan. So he rolls a d6 plus 3. Oh, what's that? That's a 6. Which Alan doesn't beat, so he takes another wound. He's down to 2. There's nothing in the book about what happens if Alan dies. Because he's kind of needed for a narrative check later. But, oh well. Next up is the zombies again, but we'll do 1, 2. And then just try to balance out the maneuvers. 2, so I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to use Alan to give a smack. That's better, that's a 7. And your swordsmanship is 5, so no modifier. And then, so a 7, you might win. But 4 plus 3 is a 7, and apparently defense matching survives, so that's that. But he is then going to use Sleight of Hand to put this back in. So essentially I've not wasted anything really. Next up is us again. I think I'm going to use Alan again to try and smack this guy. Yeah, why not? That's a 6, Alan, against a 9, so still unsuccessful. Next is the zombie trying to hit Alan. Oh, I'll have to treat that as Alan's defense. Another wound on Alan. He's down to 1 wound. It's actually not clear what happens if Alan dies. Let's have a... Okay, the enemy activation is actually kind of written here, by the way. I think the unclear... Yeah, the lack of clarity comes from the fact that when you have combat, it says about how combat works in attacking. Yeah, because it says now the defender of the attack rolls its action dice, adding modifiers. but then it has different rules for enemy activation, so it's almost like PvP rules. So I think that's where my confusion came from, and yeah, part of it is just trying to keep up and say things on screen. That it's not a completely fair appraisal of a game to be also trying to do it whilst talking when you've only read through it a couple of times. But it's a confusing way of that being written, but it is written that enemy activation is kind of about action die and stuff. So enemies follow different rules. That's not atypical for a game like this. That's fine. Okay. Oh, I've put the dice back in the bag. Well, we now know that it's going to be 2 yellows. They're going to have to be Alan trying to kill this thing. Because he's not got any wounds left. That's not bad, Alan. That's a 10. So you've dealt 1 wound to it. He's got no wounds left. We need this to be the thing. And then Alan, like this will have to be his next turn, is also trying to hit it again. It's not bad. That's a 9. There's only one way he could beat that. Hey, Alan lives to fight another day. And yeah, that was a bit tense because he's only got 1 wound left, the silly git. Right, that's that over. Alan has used his sleight of hand. He does have his bottled smoke. But I mean, there's not really much point blocking line of sight, to be honest, because no one has any ranged attacks. This is kind of silly. As far as I can remember, every attack I made on the Golem beat 6, so I'm hoping I'm okay. Oh, first one, nice yellow for me. So Dirk is going to engage this guy in combat because just to save Alan from combat. That's only a 5 though. D6 plus 3, 4 plus 3, 7. He blocks it. It's just going to have to be a. Okay, that's their turn, so they're going to roll D6 plus 3. That's a 9. Brawn to defend. 7, 6. That's a wound on Dirk. And a cat going crazy in the background. Next up. Them again. So D6 plus 3. They roll a 7. That's a solid score. But we managed to roll a 10. We're okay. Next up. That's Dirk attacking. He rolls a 7. D6 plus 3. 5. So that's a wound on this guy. And next up. Dirk again. Or me again, but I'm going to use it on Dirk. Oh, that's just a 5. That's not good. And they rolled a 9. So wasted essentially. And then D6 plus 3. 4. But I wouldn't scoff too much because our brawn is not good. Yeah, that's also a 4, but fortunately defense is all you need. Cool. Put the initiative tokens back in. I mean, this is mostly just going to boil down to this little punch up here. The Zambo first. Ooh, rolls an 8. We roll a 9, minus 1, 8, but matches win, so good on my defense. This is now just going to be Dirk slogging at this guy. That's an 8, and that's a 6, so he's dead finally. Dirk just about survives, so too does Alan. Good job, guys. You have bested the zombies. Conclusion. Sense if the Golem is truly defeated. Hero, make an action roll plus arcane. Oh dear. My arcane is 0, which is a -2 modifier. I rolled a 1. 1 total. 1. Wow, it doesn't even have... because they clearly didn't consider that I would drop my arcane this low. even though they said you could. 2 to 6, you sense nothing. I rolled a 1. Yeah. So I sense nothing. After trading blows, it seems the giant has finally succumbed. Allendale, wiping the sweat from his brow, walks over to the jewel and scoops it up. He turns to you with a wide grin. This will fetch a good sum on the trader's market. Looking at him with a faint, that's not how you spell faint, look of relief, you advise the two of you to make haste to the entrance. In a flash, the stone golem springs from the ground and flings itself towards Allendale in a last-ditch effort to keep the golden jewel in its presence. Narrative challenge. Look out! Challenge roll of 8 plus agility against Allendale. Now he's just flat, so this is going to be tricky. Oh, but he passes. It's a 9. Pass. Like a cat, Allendale swiftly avoids the deadly landing of the golem. If only women threw themselves at me like that. Ha ha ha. Yeah, okay, Alan. You're all right, buddy. A fail would have been Allendale gets crushed. The landing of the golem shakes the entire spire. As if the destruction of the golem is linked to the spire's structural integrity, it begins to crumble. Avoiding falling slabs of ceiling, you race the entrance of the spire, exiting just in the nick of time. Rubble of the spire begins to sink into the ground, and as the very top of the spire buries itself in the earth, no signs of existence are left. Now, interestingly, 2 different conclusions depending on what happens to Allendale. Archie, can you hear my cat squeaking? If Allendale passed the narrative challenge, you both make it out of the spire and make the long journey back to town. The jewel sells for 10 wealth and 1 item listed on the back of the hero's title sheet that is 10 wealth or less, and you gain 1 SP. If Allendale failed the narrative challenge, the jewel and the Allendale are lost to the sunken spire. You head back to the tavern, bruised and empty-handed, to lose yourself in a mug of ale until your next adventure. Awarded 1 SP for completing this adventure. Well, great news. That's 2 SP then, because Allendale survived. There's a bit of a thing there where I couldn't have really done any... Well, I suppose I could have... If I'd have had more arcane, it said +1 challenge roll in the next narrative challenge, so I could have helped him a little bit, but it was dependent on a companion. But, oh well. So, we have 2 SP. I believe they're skill points. And we find a hero book. Now there should be a make camp, but there's no make camp symbol. But I assume we've kind of got back. I guess that's more if it's in the middle of the journey. So you can allocate. Remember to keep a total of the SP your heroes receive throughout the adventures, because you can also level up. Once your hero's total SP equals the value needed to unlock a new level, you can choose to either select an ability in the new level, select an ability from a previous level. So let's move this whilst the cats demand food. So I've gone up to 40 total SP. Now let's see first of all about spending this SP. You allocate the SP awarded to the hero's health. So we're going to be upping these numbers, the big numbers, and then we choose how those are distributed. So I'm not happy with how... Actually, let's also get the grafters rules, because at level 2 there's a thing of move through low obstacles with no penalty for movement, or pilfer. This hero receives 1 free item from the item list that is worth 5 wealth or less. This can be received before starting adventure or at camp. So I just get a random item. Now that seems pretty cool to me. And low obstacles didn't seem to be that much of an issue, so I'm going to go for pilfer. Just start getting free items. Seems good to me. And I'm going to spend that on upping... I think we'll just have to hold out until we can use dodge, because you can use agility when defending against melee. There's no point in upping brawn because it's not going to be much use. I'd rather up to the swordsmanship because there's no way that we can constantly rely on archery. So I'm going to up combat to 12. Up combat to 12 and put that into swordsmanship to raise it. Now I'll up combat to 13 actually and put it into swordsmanship 6 to make him better at stabbing things. So it's fairly balanced kind of guy there. You don't get to up companions at all. So that's it. Oh, I've got rid of the vial of acid because I've used it. Alan survived with just 1 health remaining. That's it. Like I say, to some degree, this is never going to be entirely fair on the game system because I'm learning it whilst also trying to talk to you. You know, I wanted this to be my first pass so that, yeah, I've read it, but I wanted my first pass so you kind of knew how complicated it was. It's not that complicated. If anything, there's a few things where you almost wish for a bit more complexity, like multiple combat sort of things. There's a few bits in the rules which are a little bit confusing. It also would be nice if you had enemies which are kind of glass cannons, so their attack was maybe better than their defense sort of thing. Everyone kind of seemed like their attack and defense is sort of the same thing. I personally would have gone for just static values for attack and defend, so that all I've got to do is beat a static value. But then again, like, there were times where even the stone golem with all of his abilities rolled a 1, and that was to my advantage. So it's tricky, and you know, overall, yeah, it was pretty good fun. You know, fairly simple. I think for a first time round, we didn't get much wrong, which is I always think is a good sign. Varied enemies, they felt different. The initiative system, where you can basically spend all of it on one guy, is a little weird, especially coming from something like D&D. But if you've played Double Tap by OPR, you'll know that there's a very similar system there. Overall, yeah, it's good. And story is fairly basic dungeon crawl. Is a nice intro story. I will say my main worry about this, and it's not a huge worry because it only cost me £1.77. My main worry about this relies on interest. It relies on people buying this game for more stories to come out to make it worthwhile for Rob Salters, who does Rusty Dagger. It needs that to make it worthwhile, and to make it worthwhile building your character and taking them through these kind of stuff. That whole challenge gave us 2 SP. So the amount of challenges it would take, especially harder, maybe there'd be hard challenges, to get up to even like level 7, which is 65. Like, it'd be a lot of challenges. And it relies on more stories. And I also think I will say a bestiary at the beginning, just so you know what models you need without kind of spoiling the story, would be nice. Because I wanted to go in blind, but I couldn't, because I had to know what I'd need. And I knew like the stone golem came at the end. Maybe I should have predicted that, but if there were more twists and turns, it would be nice to know, to not have to read the book, and just have it at the beginning. That's the thing that I think really should be done, and I think would be quite easy. The rest of it, it's fine. It's a simple RPG for one person. Story was good. Hopefully they'd be more interesting going forward rather than just a straightforward dungeon crawl. But it's an introductory story. I'm not going to be too harsh on it, and we'll see how this goes. And if we can, I'll play the next one on camera as well, and hopefully I'll know the rules a bit better as well. But I will say, definitely worth like the 2 days I've spent just building stuff for it. This feels like a nice conclusion to those 2 days. So good stuff, and I shall see you all later.